I don't think I can do it anymore. I don't have it in me. I don't have the moolah, the paper, the dinero in my pocket to make this all happen anymore, or at least a very specific part of it. You see, the brand Enfant Riche Déprimé is way too expensive. The nihilist punk couture fashion brand, they have jacked their prices to one of the most absurd degrees I have ever seen. Look, everybody is doing it, okay? Balenciaga t-shirts are $800 to $1,000 now. Enfant Riche Déprimé t-shirts, last season, the Bonds of Matrimony shirt was $715. Ideology Materialized, $680. While Regression 4 and Texas Pastor were both about $1,100 or more. And there is a new E.R.D drop coming soon. Actually, at the time that you're watching this, it may have already dropped. And I think there is a very slim chance that I'm gonna be buying anything in that drop because I think they've priced me out. Me, someone who was addicted to heroin at 15, 16 and playing in hardcore punk bands from the age of 12, I am E.R.D, okay? But it seems like more and more they exist now to milk money from people that don't understand what the brand is doing. And that's kind of sick, that's kind of punk in its own way, to just be like, hey Rubes, come here, give me your money. So in light of all that today, I wanna show you some E.R.D alternatives, all of which are significantly cheaper than Enfant Riche Déprimé. And listen, I think this is coming at kind of the right time because the world right now is freaking out about prices. I don't know if y'all follow the fast food industry. I'm sure many of you, that you're big fast food industry freaks. You read all the trade publications, but people have been getting very, very mad at McDonald's and Burger King and Chipotle for how expensive they've gotten over the past few years. They've raised their prices way beyond inflation and people are pissed, and now all those fast food places are scrambling. They're putting out value meals, value menus that didn't exist the past couple of years. And I've actually talked to somebody who worked at Burger King a long time ago, and they told me that they would talk about a thing called the $1 Million Whopper. And that was an idea that they had to be careful when raising their prices because eventually, sure, you can raise your prices to the point where a Whopper is $1 million and maybe you'd sell that Whopper to one person, but they feel like they'd be way better off selling millions of $3 Whoppers, you know what I mean? But that's the interesting thing about luxury fashion is that luxury fashion brands kind of are in the business of selling $1 million Whopper. They've got roughly the same product as anyone else at any level of the industry. Like sure, it's probably made out of slightly nicer materials in countries with better labor practices, but at the end of the day, somebody charging like $70 for a premium t-shirt, like, I don't know, Diesel or Hugo Boss or something, it's probably fairly similar quality to a $1,000 t-shirt from Dior, you know? So I'm gonna do my part to defeat the fashion inflation in my little area of the fashion world here. You know how they say when you go camping, leave it cleaner than you left it? I'm just trying to do that over in my niche here, okay? So the first E.R.D alternative I wanna tell you about is actually Willy Chavaria. And get a good look at this shirt. We're gonna look at all the details of these pieces later and try them on and stuff. This shirt is sick. And Willy Chavaria is a very weird pick, I would say, to be an alternative to the in-your-face offensive punk brand that is Enfant Riche Déprimé, because Willy Chavaria actually, within fashion, has a very, like, normie background, because he worked at Calvin Klein and Ralph Lauren, very, like, just staple American fashion brands. But then he decided to strike out on his own, and it turns out that deep down, he is much more subversive than anyone gave him credit for. His work is totally unique in the landscape of fashion right now. It has a really nice kind of street point of view, but can be very high fashion runway when it wants to. And the point of view and imagery is totally unique as well. It is very, very queer. If you didn't know, Willy Chavaria is a Latino man, and he really centers that in both the vibe of the pieces, but also how he promotes it, the campaign photography, things like that, because it almost like fetishizes Latino men, both in their muscularity and finding like a softness in the things that other people might like find scary in a way. And you might hear all that and be saying, Jesus, that has so little to do with E.R.D. That doesn't sound like E.R.D. at all. Well, let me tell you, I am personally very partial to a series of pieces that Willie Chavaria made for Patron of the New. They have shops in New York and Miami, and you can buy them online. This was my favorite, this Still a Slut t-shirt, and the point of view, the irreverence is very, very E.R.D. It kind of reminds me of like the "Do you believe in God" type slogan stuff that E.R.D. has done, but Willie Chavaria does it in a completely different way. The materials, the cuts, the fits, all so different from E.R.D., but with a similar, I don't know, ethos, a kind of snubbing your nose at the fashion elites, if you will. And with all that being said, that t-shirt was about half as much as an E.R.D. t-shirt at retail, and Willie Chavaria is not big enough yet to have like a crazy resale archive community, so if you can find it on sale, you're probably gonna get it even cheaper. But for real, I'm gonna be keeping a close eye on Willie Chavaria, and I think you should take a look. And that brings me to my next recommendation if you are looking for cheaper E.R.D. alternatives, and that of course is Pally Hollywood. Listen, I know, Pally is essentially E.R.D. light, but there are some saving graces. So if you don't know, Pally Hollywood is the brand run by Kyle Lindgren, who used to work at Fuck Awesome, the skate brand, and James Franco, the former A-list actor. He's a disgraced A-list actor, and I definitely have feelings on that. Like, some people ask me, why are you buying Pally stuff from James Franco? And I even went back and looked at all of the allegations that were made against James Franco. If you didn't know, you're welcome to look them up. And what I landed on was that, yeah, he probably abused his position, and he was probably a sex addict, and he probably did some things that were not advisable by any means. But if there's one place where you're gonna find some safety, it is in the effed up punk fashion scene. So feel free to take Pally with a grain of salt just due to the founder's actions. But here's what I like about them. Well, first off, I really like the price. It is half as much as E.R.D. or less, depending on the piece. And I think in large part, due to James Franco's connection to the brand, it has a much more film-forward focus than E.R.D. Like E.R.D., they definitely reference film sometimes, but Pally, it's really front and center. Like, they will reference specific films all over the place, different like Hollywood lore elements, actors, actresses, I don't know, controversies, conspiracies. All that stuff is super cool to me because I love film and I love film history. Like, both of these pieces that we're going to look at today have Hollywood connections. But Pally gets into a really, really interesting discussion of like, what makes good fashion, right? Is it the point of view, the ethos, the kind of attitude? Because if so, then Pally is not a very good brand. I think E.R.D. is a much more authentically in-your-face brand than Pally, where it's kind of a put-on if we're being real. But now let me go through the laundry list of ways in which Pally is better than E.R.D. I think the materials are better, the cuts of their pieces are better, the construction and treatments of their pieces are better. The only thing I don't think is better is the attitude, the ethos, and also from a raw level, the graphics, I think, in Pally are a little bit weaker. But from an actual clothing constructional point of view, Pally is the better brand. And it's totally valid for you to say, well, that's not what's important to me. I like the background of the brand and what they stand for and where they came from and all of that stuff. Yeah, I kind of feel that way too, but there is something to like about Pally. So like, this is a super cool paper thin Japanese cotton single stitch t-shirt with cashmere long sleeves layered. And this is a hat that is signed by James Franco all over and has some interesting Hollywood history. I think they're both worthwhile pieces for much less than E.R.D. One other quick suggestion if you're looking for E.R.D. on the cheap is to buy Saint Laurent instead. That's right, I think it is no surprise that the designer Eddie Slimot, who designed for Saint Laurent in the early 2010s, is a massive, massive influence on E.R.D. And as E.R.D. has kind of become bigger and more professional, like they started off in t-shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies and stuff, but now they've added more and more upscale kind of indie sleaze type things that E.R.D. Sliman was really the progenitor of within the fashion landscape. Now, E.R.D. Sliman's work dates all the way back to Dior Homme, but I don't see a ton of Dior Homme from the early 2000s in the modern E.R.D. But if you look at Saint Laurent, especially E.R.D.'s time at Saint Laurent, there are a lot of pieces you can find a near one-to-one version of from Saint Laurent and probably get it a lot cheaper than a new E.R.D. piece. But it's also not just E.R.D. Sliman, interestingly. I think that E.R.D. goes back and lifts from these Saint Laurent archives much more often than people realize. For example, I just bought a new handbag. That's right, I'm a man and I bought a handbag. Okay, suck it. And this is by Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche, which was done by Tom Ford in the early 2000s. E.R.D. Sliman actually, I think, also designed for them for a time, but this bag is from the Tom Ford era, early 2000s. This is the Mombasa bag, I think is what it's called. And last season, E.R.D. basically put out this bag. Like, this handle is a dead giveaway, but it's so cool. It's solid metal, it's chunky, it's heavy, it's sizable, it's black suede. It's a beautiful bag. But if you were to buy this bag, because really, they really did this bag from E.R.D., it would cost you thousands of dollars. This one cost me $300. Now that I think is a very good price for one of these Mombasa bags, but like $300 versus $3,000, I know which one I'm going with. Now my last suggestion is probably the simplest. If you want E.R.D. for cheaper, just find vintage stuff. A large amount of E.R.D.'s graphics are direct lifts and copies of real vintage pieces. For example, the I Believe in God Columbine 1999 t-shirt, you may have thought that E.R.D. came up with that as kind of an irreverent thing, but no, that was a real t-shirt. I've seen pictures of this vintage t-shirt that they made, and E.R.D. just took the exact graphic and put it on their E.R.D. stuff. Now, no hate. If you find a really cool message, a cool graphic that no one really owns and fits really well within your brand's ethos, then yeah, steal it, take it. It makes sense. But why pay $800 for something when you can get the real original vintage version for 1/10 that much? If you're willing to wheel and deal on Depop and Grailed, you can probably find very E.R.D.-like vintage pieces for $20 to $50. For example, I just happened to find this one when I was thrifting recently. This is an old 90s single-stitch t-shirt. On the front, it says Quaker. I don't know if you know about Quakers, like the religion Quakers, but I think they're mostly known for being pacifists. That's what they're famous for. And on the back, I felt this was like very E.R.D. vêtement type thing. It says, "Notice, I am a Quaker. In case of emergency, please be quiet." Like they're very sensitive people, the Quakers. And I just think that's fun. It's weird, it's quirky, kind of offensive to this specific religion, and irreverent and ironic. I like it. And I could see E.R.D. doing something similar, like the Christian dancing t-shirt is quite similar to this. So those are my suggestions for how to get E.R.D. for cheaper. But if you're on the fence about any of these, check out the details. We got some crazy details to look at here. So let's dive in. We're going to look at the Willy Chavaria, all the Pally, the Saint Laurent, the Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche, of course. Let's dive in. But the very cheapest E.R.D. of all is the stuff that you find in my Discord, which you can only get to by joining my Patreon. You'll also get exclusive videos. What are you waiting for? Get in there. So let's start with this wildly in-your-face Willy Chavaria t-shirt. Jesus, what an incredible piece. And you can already see the thrashing, heavy thrashing going on, but there is so much to this shirt that makes it unique. First, let's take a quick look at the tags and details. Willy Chavaria, little cross, love to see it. This one, as I mentioned, was an exclusive for Patron of the New. This t-shirt was my favorite, but they also had a Scum t-shirt, which was equally as good. And while that is very expensive, it is still about half your usual E.R.D. t-shirt these days. Brand and size tag at the back of the neck there. This is a small. We'll definitely talk about sizing later on. And this one is 100% cotton, made in USA, baby. That's where all the good, like, hype brands are making their stuff these days. You'll love to see it, you know? And we will absolutely take a look at that print and talk about how incredible that is. But first, there were a couple of things that really stood out to me as soon as I opened this t-shirt up. The first thing is the fabric. Your usual kind of like E.R.D clones these days are doing either very like vintagey feeling stuff or that paper thin thing. This is completely different. This is one of the heaviest t-shirts I've ever felt, and it's almost like a canvas. It actually feels incredibly similar to this t-shirt from For You, which is a $1,400 t-shirt and one of my favorites, so it's in good company with the fabrication. The other thing that really stood out to me is the cut. This thing is massive. It is super, super, super oversized. I haven't measured the pit to pit, but I bet it's like 3XL levels. And that's way different from E.R.D. E.R.D these days, they do most of their stuff kind of true to size, or otherwise it's like a raglan or a baby doll style. Like, they do not make t-shirts like this. It is Willy Chevalia's own personal, unique type of fit that nobody else is doing. The shoulders are absurdly dropped, the sleeves are very long, and it's just a loose, flowy, open type of fit. As you can see, there is heavy, heavy thrashing here, just giant holes and tears in this thing. In my opinion, done quite tastefully, and I also love the fraying that they've got going on at like all of the cuffs and the collar and things like that. I love to see that stuff. Now we can talk about the print. Here we go. Still a slut? Still needs support? Miss partying with other sluts. That's incredible. That's amazing. It's in your face. It's provocative, but it is also very much in line with the queer culture and stuff that Willy Chevalier imbues into his pieces. So I think a straight person could totally wear this, such as myself. Okay, I'm straight, okay? I promise. But I love the idea that a bunch of like rappers and athletes and stuff are going to go into Patron of the New and buy this piece, which is just super, super queer. So that's at the chest right there. And then at the back, it's the same thing, but bigger, therefore better. This literally is like one of my favorite graphic prints I've seen in a couple years, I would say. I'm so in love with this. It's massive, it's heavily printed, it's in your face. I love the kind of like text treatment going on here. It's almost like overprinted. It sits on top of it. Just so sick. So if you are a fan of E.R.D, this is one of my top picks for sure as an alternative. Next up, let's look at one of the most controversial brands I've ever covered on the channel, Pally Hollywood. We'll start with the shirt right here. Now, say what you want to about Pally, but if you don't immediately see why I like this piece, then you're out of your mind. You gotta go somewhere else. As I mentioned earlier in the video, there are many reasons not to like Pally, but I don't think you can say that the pieces themselves aren't good. And this layered long sleeve is no different. Like, okay, we've said it before, I'll say it again. Yes, this is kind of cringe how close it is to E.R.D. But let me tell you something here, okay? This is the best paper-thin Japanese cotton you will ever see. The single-stitch construction is gorgeous. The drop-shouldered, cropped cut is so nice. Classic, like, 70s Americana vibes. And the film aesthetic coming from James Franco makes perfect sense and is so like this one is for Death Collector. I think the movie is actually called The Death Collector, a Joe Pesci film, a cult favorite, okay? Jerry Bellante isn't afraid of anyone or anything. He's young, street smart, tough, with a fierce, raw, sexual energy. He's mafia. Hell yeah. And what I really like about Pally and what I think has gone missing from E.R.D is a sort of personality, not like, I don't know, traits personality, but a level of personalness to the pieces. Because I'm almost certain that what happened is that Pally printed up a bunch of these black t-shirts and treated them and stuff, and they've just been using them in different ways ever since. So this one, I think the factory made this t-shirt, and then Pally sourced this cashmere, yes, you heard that right, cashmere, and sewed it in for the sleeves. With Pally, you can just imagine, you can see in your mind's eye the person in the studio making them, whereas E.R.D feels much more factory made these days, to be honest with you. So yeah, the material choices are great. I love the film references, the treatments are among the best in the biz, and there's also some tasteful thrashing here, especially at the hem. I always love those details. And just like the best of them, they're made in the USA, 100% cotton. So talk trash about Pally all you want. You're welcome to do so in the comments. I might even join you on some points, but at a base level, this fulfills that same need. It scratches that same itch as E.R.D for significantly less money. And even if you think it's fake, it's posery, it's whatever, it's indisputable. And the other piece I got is this hat right here. And this piece puts the Hollywood aesthetic front and center. And I really do like that Pally has so well figured out their niche in a short amount of time. So this hat is for Schwab's Pharmacy, a long-closed Hollywood pharmacy, which was very famous for a lot of reasons, like Hollywood careers were made there. A famous gossip columnist had their office out of the pharmacy somehow. It's just a legendary Hollywood establishment. And to go in line with that, James Franco himself and his partner Kyle Lindgren did all of these autographs on the hat themselves by hand. And these are all like fake celebrity autographs, like imagining James Franco in studio with a Sharpie just signing Jack Nicholson's name on these hats is so funny to me. And then at the back, you've got some branding embroidery in there too. And again, this is that personal touch that you're never going to get anymore from E.R.D. If E.R.D made pieces with hand-drawn anything from Henry, it would be like one-off and it would go for thousands of dollars. But stuff like this, you can just go onto Pally's web store and buy it. As for the hat itself, it's a great white hat. I love this like pointed horn type thing that they have on all of their hats. Obviously, they're incredibly famous. Pally's probably most famous for the James Dean Death Cult hats, but I think this might be my new favorite. I will say, I figured out they use Augusta kind of blanks, quote unquote, as their hats for these, which do have a retail price of like a few dollars, and they charge like 100 something for their hats. So take that for what you will. And I do think it's like semi-unforgivable that they don't put any tags inside the hat for legit checking, even just branding, whatever, you know. But hey, it's just that personality. This is James Franco's personal little art project that he's got going on here, and you can have a piece of it if you're interested. So E.R.D fanboys can hate all they want, call them a poser brand, and on many, many pieces, I would agree with those points. But at the end of the day, they just scratch that itch. All right, next I want to talk about this Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche handbag right here. And I'll just say straight up, okay, E.R.D made a bag that like literally has this exact handle. We'll take a closer look in a second, but E.R.D's bags of these, for I think a similar size to this, it was like 5,000, and then they sold a bigger version that was 7. I don't know, it's sold out now, but I think it was close to 10 grand. So for like 1/20th the price, you can just get this one, the OG, which E.R.D is clearly modeling theirs after. This one is a beautiful black suede. Like, hot damn, the texture of that is so good. Nice metal detailing going to some leather trim that goes all the way around the bottom of it. And it's got multiple pockets on the inside. I find it very, very usable. It's got like magnetic closures with leather trim here. Zip pockets in both of the main compartments. It's just a great all-rounder. It's feminine, for sure, but with like a hard masculinity at the same time. Now, as we mentioned, this is Yves Saint Laurent Rive Gauche, which is like their ready-to-wear line, their like non-couture line. And the central feature of this thing, hands down, is the floral metal handle here, which I just love. So the shape of this is so unique. Again, E.R.D copied it piece for piece. And it also has a weird like H.R. Geiger alien like xenomorph type of vibe to it, but it's chunky, real metal, beautifully molded with this like floral patterning going on at the top of this engraving. Holy hell, that is gorgeous. And I think that handle is really what gives this that masculinity that the piece needs. So yeah, I'm a handbag guy. This is my new go-to, you know what I mean? And if you're interested in the E.R.D rose handle bag, just buy one of these. They're all over the place online. Just go on the RealReal. You'll find one for way cheaper. And this is going to be a quick one, but don't forget, the easiest way to get E.R.D alternatives for cheap is to buy vintage, like this Quaker piece. I just love the idea that a random Quaker made this. But I've dated it. I'm guessing it's from like the mid-90s, cotton poly blend, made in USA, just like the big boys. Single stitch naturally. And if you look in the right places, you can get one with a striking graphic just like this. And this has to be the easiest way to fill out your wardrobe on a budget, especially like if you have any Goodwill outlets near you, the ones with like the big bins that sell by weight. They have so many vintage t-shirts there in my experience. Try it out, test it out, see what works for you. All right, these are some really cool pieces, and some of them are not gonna fit with some others. I think we're just gonna have to try and throw some stuff together. I'll try a bunch of different pieces on, and we're gonna see what works with these pieces, with these aesthetics. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna be real, I have no plan going into this. I'm just gonna start putting stuff on that just feels right. So hopefully we can make something happen here. I'm gonna start off with some E.R.D jeans. These are from a few years back. Now their jeans literally cost like $1,200 or $1,400, which is insane. But these are a really nice pair of black canvas harness jeans. They have like harnesses, horse, like kind of equestrian type things going on around the legs and the thighs. I love these, a really nice straight leg fit. The inseam isn't too long. They're just a really great pair of jeans. Then I'm gonna put on some shoes. I want a little pop of color, so I'm gonna go with the Golden Goose Francie sneakers in this light blue suede with yellow laces. These are like one of the best all-rounder pairs of sneakers I've ever owned. They've served me very, very well for many years. All right, let's move right along. I want to try on this Willie Chavaria t-shirt because the cut and the fit look insane just holding it. Like, oh my God, the pit to pit on this thing, the width is crazy. All right, throwing it on. Yes, it is extremely large. This is tagged to size small. I literally think the fit is probably like a 3XL in like true to size sizing. But that is the fit that Willie Chavaria has carved out for himself, and it's unlike what anybody else is doing. The heavy, almost canvas fabric is so good. The thrashing is perfect. I like the fact you can see my skin like through the shoulders and stuff. And the print is just God tier. We can also throw on some like jewelry. I've got this vintage pearl necklace here, some rings. I think that'll pull things together. And then let's try on this Pally Hollywood Schwab's Pharmacy hat. I'm putting it on, of course, it's gonna go with this t-shirt. This works really well. It kind of makes it a little bit more streetwear in a way, and I think ties the whole thing together a bit more. And then finally, to add like a little tonality into the mix, let's do this vintage number 9 zip-up hoodie with like the multiple cargo pockets, like the Nightcrawler thing. And this is in like a earthy, dark green brown. And somehow it actually works. The length of this hoodie hits perfectly with the t-shirt and kind of like reins the entire thing in a bit. So this just feels like a really good going out type of fit. Last but not least, try out that Yves Saint Laurent rose handle bag that E.R.D so blatantly ripped. And this thing is great. This against the black canvas jeans is like the perfect combo. Holding it at the side, putting it over the shoulder, all of it looks good. All right, now I want to try something a bit different. I want to change up the aesthetic, the vibe here. So first, let's switch out our bottoms, and we're gonna go from the E.R.D jeans over to a custom-made pair that I got made by a Russian denim madman called Kotlovin Atelier. I found him on Instagram, and his stuff is just nuts. The denim work he does, the distressing, the patching, the layering, the coloring, it's all so sick. These are the Sahara Flare denim pants that I got from a perfect flare at the ankle, and I think these are gonna serve as a really nice base for the Pally t-shirt. But first, let's get on some different shoes. We're gonna go Japanese Archive and do the 14th edition Elvis punk boots. Really nice, black, like blistered leather, silver attachments. These things are great. I think they've got the perfect amount of height and rounding to fill out with these jeans, but it looks kind of weird with the t-shirt and hoodie that we've got on right now. So definitely let's switch this out and throw on the Death Collector Pally layered long sleeve shirt. Oh my God, it's instantly so good. It's so good. This looks great. This blew my mind. Oh my God. Let's get some jewelry on. We'll do the E.R.D safety pin sterling necklace. We'll keep those rings on. And let's get the hat back on as well, accessorize. And whew, man, this is a good shirt. This is a really damn good shirt. I really love the fit. As I mentioned, their stuff, it has a very light crop to it. The shoulders are dropped, and their treatments are like unmatched. From the distressing, the thrashing, the sun fading, the enzyme washing, all of it, they've really done well here. No matter what you say about Pally, this is a good t-shirt, and I won't hear any talk back about that. And then for outerwear on this, I'm actually going to try something. This is a hooded zip-up bomber jacket from a very small brand called Falmaran, or maybe Falmarin. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but I'll put them on screen here. They actually sent me this piece for free, which is awesome. Thank you guys so much. But I've actually found myself wearing it quite often. Like, I already showed this piece in a video. I kind of like paid it forward, you know. I don't have to show this again, but I actually really like how it works here because the fading on this piece pairs so well with the Pally piece. They feel very similar. They almost look like they could have come from this same collection. But then these have like a hidden feature here where you can turn it inside out and go incognito mode, and it has like a valet print. It's like the nylon side, and that looks great. And since that is more of a full black, now I think we can pull back out the rose handle Yves Saint Laurent bag, and damn, we're cooking with fire now. We are chilling. I love it. All right, you know what? Just because I can, let's ball out for a second here. Let's switch out this jacket for the E.R.D Spanish Elegy leather jacket in dark blue. This thing's insane. I know we're talking about E.R.D alternatives here, but I really think there are no alternatives to this jacket. I know it's got a retail price of like $4,500, but I think the only thing that you could get as an alternative to this would be like one of the Yohji Yamamoto like pinup leather jackets, but those are also like archivist wet dream pieces, which would cost you thousands of dollars. So it is what it is. But this piece is absurd. It's like one of the best leather jackets I have ever owned, definitely, but even like seen. It's crazy. And now let's like match this blue with the jacket, and let's put on the painted Guidi boots. These are the back zip boots. The stacking is perfect on these. Oh damn, yeah. When you put these on, that's golden. That's a hell of a fit right there. All right, thank you for indulging me. I just had to try that out. All right, finally, our final E.R.D alternative here is the vintage Quaker t-shirt. You might not have thought I was going to try this on, but of course we're going to try everything on. This one is tagged like a 2XL, but in modern terms, like with the fits of streetwear t-shirts now, like this is more like a large from a lot of brands today. I think it's so fun. I think it's humorous, the irony slogan on the back. It's really weird and cool. Now that we've got this blue in here, we're like getting colorful, so we might as well lean into that. And I have this crazy doublet, the Japanese brand doublet, mohair pink, like troll doll cardigan, super oversized. And you throw this on, it's got like all this fringe coming down on the hem. And damn, this looks good. This looks like I meant to do something here. I'm not mad about it. You throw the hat back on and like, damn, this looks sick. I think maybe if I were to go back, if I were like going out in this, I'd change out the shoes. But other than that, like everything's working surprisingly well here. But that's everything. Let me know which combo here was your favorite. I think all of these pieces are super viable ways to go if you're not looking to completely break the bank on the new Enfant Riche des Primés drop. That's the video. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you let me know down below if you have any suggestions for getting E.R.D alternatives for cheap. I'm sure the people out there would be appreciative of your suggestions. And make sure you watch the other video on screen here. Like, subscribe, comment, do all these engagement-y things that help me in the YouTube algorithm. And I'll see you next time.